Welcome to the Xian Network Manager 2012 What's New demo. In this small presentation, we are going to show the new features of Network Manager 2012, focusing especially on the latest version, which is Network Manager 2012 Service Pack 2. If correct, you should be seeing my remote desktop connection, where I have installed Operations Manager 2012 and Xian Network Manager 2012 Service Pack 2. Most of the basic functionality still remains in Network Manager, which basically means that you can still discover devices by running an add device rule with where you provide the IP address and community string of the device, or you can still run a network scan task configured to browse within a network range looking for devices that can be monitored. Something that is new on Add Device, for example, is the fact that now, besides adding a device, it will also automatically add a policy template. So as soon as a device is discovered, it is also automatically monitored. Another new feature for Network Manager 2012 is that now it is possible to export and import the devices that you have already discovered along with the rules. So if later on you need to, for example, reinstall the application or make some changes on the configurations, etc., this data won't be lost. So if I select a device and then choose the Export Devices option, it gives me the list of all the devices I have on my environment and that can be exported. For example, we can select both devices. And now, if I take a look at the location, I have two files per each device. One contains the configuration of the device itself, and the other one the policy template that has been applied to it. So when importing these files, the device itself will be discovered and the policy template will be applied. So no data and no configuration is lost. Another interesting feature for Network Manager 2012 is the smart monitoring feature. So for example, let's choose this device. Let's go to Active Rules. Okay, and now let's add a rule. For example, let's try with incoming traffic. Smart monitoring means that instead of manually selecting the thresholds that will be used or that will be set by the user, Network Manager can automatically do that. When we choose automatic threshold, we have to define the number of data points that will be gathered before calculating the best threshold. This option is, or this action, sorry, is done once after these, for example, 24 points are gathered and an static but automatic threshold is defined. Obviously, if the values will later on, let's say, change dramatically, this won't work. So we have dynamic threshold. This option is going to also use certain amount of data points to calculate an initial threshold, and later on the threshold will be adjusted over time using a statistics formula, and you can choose a normal, conservative, or loose prediction type for that in order to have the adjustment be tight or loose. No, normally we just keep it like that, and that's it. So once an initial threshold is being calculated, the other received data points will be used to adjust that threshold based on yeah, the values or the new values that are being received. Okay, so we can keep it like that. The other parameters are similar to what we had before in previous versions of Network Manager, right? Even that optimization hasn't changed, and that's it. So you can see the threshold type is now differentiated. So we can say that this rule is having a dynamic threshold. Now, another interesting new feature that we have added to Network Manager 2012 is the option to create your own rules. So if we go to configuration, rules, for example, we can choose this category. We have on the right side the option to add custom rule. This is going to add a new rule to the list of predefined rules that Network Manager already offers, and this one will have the parameters that a user wants. So for example, if I discover a device and I don't see a rule that, for example, is monitoring the temperature on that device, I can create a custom rule that will do that. Yeah, instead of other rules or adding to the rules that we already have. The only thing that I have to make sure is that I know the OID on that particular device that is going to provide me with, for example, temperature values, no? So for example, let's put a name. Let's for example call it temperature, a title, an optional description. What kind of rule is this one? Performance rule. That means that only a value is gathered from the device, and that single value is already telling me the counter or the actual value that the monitoring has. Or if I select incremental performance, the latest value that I gather is going to be calculated along with the previous values. And a status rule is not going to give me a number that I can use for calculation, but a number that is going to be used in a list of values with associated behaviors, like for example up, down, critical, normal, warning, etc. No? So let's just use performance rule. Here I select the parameters that I will display at the moment of working with the rule wizard. So for example, maybe if I am using well, in this case temperature, maybe the temperature we cannot go higher to 100. The default value might be, for example, 25. And the unit, for example, can be degrees. No, if I want to use automatic thresholds, if I want to use data optimization, etc., is also configured here. The expression is the most important part of this configuration, because here I define the OID that is going to provide the information, in this case temperature. So for example, let's imagine the temperature is being gathered from this OID. But if I need something more complex, like some formulas to be used, calculating or gathering data from tables, etc., I can use an editor that, for example, gives me all the possible values that I can use, and the formulas that I can also use, like get tables, get values, a specific OIDs from a specific tables, columns, count all of the values, sum them, operators, to add, multiply, etc. So that can be used. In this particular case, just a single OID. Then we have to provide the information that is going to be seen in Operations Manager associated to this alert. For example, something like that. Basically, the knowledge associated to this particular alert. When that is done, I just click on Finish. And my specific rule is now listed along with the, let's say, default rules of Network Manager. You can tell it is a custom rule because it has this blue font. The last step consists on generating the management pack that is going to give Operations Manager all the information about this rule. Otherwise, Ops Manager will discard the alerts and counters from my custom rule. So I just look for a location where my management pack will be created on, and I have this XML that I will later on import into Operations Manager as any regular management pack. With that, I am ready, and I can apply this rule to my device, and the data will be automatically sent and displayed into Operations Manager. Okay, the last new feature that we have is NetFlow. NetFlow basically consists on finding out the details of the traffic that we have on the environment. The detail means, for example, a specific traffic coming from a specific computer to a specific destination using a port, using a type of service, using specific parameters. So for example, I might be able to answer questions like, okay, who uses Facebook the most, which would be the traffic to my SQL server, which are, I don't know, the top ports that are being used, etc. So I have this element NetFlow where I have all the configurations, or where I perform all the configurations that I need for configuring this feature. The first thing that we need to do is define sources. Sources are switches, routers, or other devices that support NetFlow. It could be version 5 or version 9, and that are configured to send their NetFlow traffic to the Xian server. So for example, I will just provide a name. The IP address of that device the port that this device was configured to send NetFlow data through, and an optional description. Once that is done, the source is added, and Network Manager will know almost immediately if it was well configured. If, for example, the status is on sending packets, it will find out the flow technology, in this case NetFlow v5, and for a device or a configuration that is not correct, we will see something like this: not sending packets and flow technology unknown. If this is the case, you have to verify that indeed NetFlow has been enabled on that device with those parameters like the port and the IP address, and of course standard verifications like connectivity, firewalls, etc. Now the easiest thing to do once we have added our sources consists on applying a policy template. This is a template that comes right out of the box and monitors the most basic, let's say, NetFlow behaviors like top visited websites, top uploads, downloads, conversation, application ports, etc. So you know the most basic NetFlow information by doing that. But if you want something specific, you can go to filters, create one that is going to look for a specific traffic, and on top of that create a rule. So let's take a quick look at how to do that. So let's put a name. Let's call it my traffic. In this part, or the second tab, we select which are the elements that will be displayed in Operations Manager. So for example, maybe I want to see who are the IP addresses that I took the most. And the filter defines which is the criteria of the NetFlow traffic that will be used for accepting precisely that kind of traffic. So for example, the source IP address could be maybe public network, or maybe the private network. Maybe I want to know which are the IP addresses within my network that I talk the most. And destination IP address could be my specific or the IP address of my specific computer, right? I can also configure the parameters for ports, protocols. You can see many possible parameters here, but with this is enough. I want to see all the traffic coming from my network to my computer. I just click on finish, and my filter is now added to the list of all these default filters. You can see, well, for example, we can see the traffic from CNN as a filter. We can see the same from Twitter, YouTube, SQL Server, all the telnet traffic, etc. So you can initially look for these predefined filters in order to see if something you need is already created, so you just use it. The last step will consist on creating a rule on top of that filter. So I just click on that, and I have two options: to monitor the traffic measured in bytes per second or measured in packets per second. Let's choose the first one. And the first option consists on selecting the filter that is going to provide me the raw data that I need. In this case, the filter I created. then the rest will be the same as we know for any rules. So for example, I can use dynamic threshold. I can make my rule run every 15 minutes, for example. And if an alert is generated, let's make sure that that alert is on critical. I am getting performance counters, and I keep it like that. So now I am monitoring the net flow traffic that goes to my specific computer. As regular data, everything will be automatically sent to Operations Manager. So for example, if I go to the flow section within the Operations Manager console, I should see the open alerts, nothing yet, and I can also see the performance data. For example, in this graph, I am taking a look at, let's wait until the counters are loaded. No, I'm taking a look at the net flow traffic for a specific rule monitoring one of my filters. Okay, let's wait a second. Okay, in this case, I am seeing a graph of the traffic through HTTPS, which would be the 443 port. Maybe I would like to see the HTTP traffic. No, and that's it. Something interesting is that NetFlow also has its own set of reports. So let's take a look at them. Okay, let's wait a second. Something interesting about these reports is that you can generate top reports, which means you can generate a top N report for a specific net flow data. For example, maybe I can create a report for the top 10 YouTube users, the top 5 downloaders, I don't know, the top 20 port use, etc. No? So for example, let's take a look at one of those reports. Okay, let's see something from this week. And the filter, for example, could be top application ports. Right? So I have these 3 ports that are used the most. And I have this pie chart. And I can see the percentage of usage from these 3 ports, and a detailed below, and I can select any of them to see, for example, the behavior. So let's see FTP. I just click on it, and I can see the graph showing me the traffic through FTP. Okay, that's all I wanted to show you on this quick demo on what's new on Network Manager. If you have any questions, please let us know. We have an evaluation version available on our website. So if you want, you can get that version. You can download it, install it on your environment, play with this feature, or maybe with the other features you already know, etc. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you very much for your time. Hope you have a nice rest of the day. Bye-bye.